Jamal Ratnayaka.
Welcome to a brand new edition of Face to Face, coming to you direct from our Newsfirst studios here in Colombo, bringing you Face to Face this evening for the Newsfirst team. I am Jamal Ratnayaka, and as you know, Sri Lanka is once again in an election period, less than a month away to go for the local government election 2025. And today's conversation will speak to the heart of Colombo's future, the Colombo Municipal Council. We know that it is no secret that Colombo holds immense potential, yet it has not been realized thus far, and that is something that is widely accepted and regarded, something that we must address. So as we stand at a critical juncture in the city's governance, the people of Colombo are calling for a visionary leader to be elected to office as the mayor of Colombo. Although there has been an interim order issued by the Court of Appeal, when the voters are once again enabled to go to the polling booths and select their representatives at local government institutions, they will make that choice. So in that vein, we have today decided to invite a mayoral candidate for the Colombo Municipal Council. He is the mayoral candidate for the Samagi Janabalawegaya, Dr. Ruvaiz Haniffa. A very good evening to you, Doctor. Welcome on Face to Face, and I believe this is your first on-air appearance as the mayoral candidate.
Thank you, Jamal. Thank you very much. And yes, it is indeed my first online appearance, and thank you for having me this evening.
Of course, it's certainly a pleasure to have you, Doctor. So let me dive straight into the questions and start off, without going into the political realm of things, asking you about your personal journey and your career. You have celebrated a distinguished career as a family physician, a wartime medical officer, and also someone who has led health policy and health policy reform. So can you tell me and the viewers, what moment in your life made you decide that you want to jump in to Sri Lankan politics?
Yes, Chairman, I think that's a question I think your audience deserves to know, and especially the voter of Colombo needs to know. They have perhaps heard of Dr. Haniffa, but I think this is the first time they're seeing me, because I have not been in active politics or in the public sphere in any way other than within the medical and higher education communities. Yes, so as a resident born in Colombo, bred in Colombo, worked in Colombo and lived in Colombo, I have seen Colombo grow, stagnate, and there we are. So I have been involved with the SJB in its policy for quite some time, but certainly not in active politics. So it was all behind the scenes, helping their various committees and so on and so forth. Then I have also been involved in contributing, as you said, in other spheres, in the health ministry and so on. So we live in a democracy. So though we are technocrats, there comes a time when your dream for something gets stuck in the political process. And also we have been wanting for political change, which has happened, but different people have different aspirations for their political change. So I thought, I told myself, Ruvaiz, you have been writing on these things, you have been commenting on these things, but have you done a system change in you? Why don't you become the change you want to see? So here I am, being the change I want to see.
Right. So it's a very elaborate opening remarks, but I must also ask you, despite this being your first foray into frontline politics, like you mentioned, you have supported the SJB behind the scenes, but this is your first appearance in frontline politics. You come from a family of politicians, and more notably your grandfather, M.H. Mohammed, used to be a former mayor of Colombo. He also was subsequently the Speaker of the Sri Lanka Parliament. So how has his view of public service shaped you into the person you are today, and how has he inspired you to enter frontline politics?
Yes, so I'm contesting from the Borella South ward. That's where I grew up. That's where my grandfather did his politics from.
I see.
So perhaps from the youngest of youngest ages, I have been inadvertently exposed to political life. I see people walking in, meeting my grandfather and moving on, you know, arguments, discussions, to the annoyance of my grandmother, I must add.
Right.
So I have seen the full spectrum, and his contribution towards the development of Borrell in particular is evident. I need not mention it here. All you have to do is drive around Borrell and perhaps even Maligawatha, because he was the housing minister in the 1960s under the Dudley Senanayake government. Then they went into opposition. So I have seen his defeat and how he built up. So I have seen the spectrums which a politician has been through, from victory to defeat and to elevation to the highest third person office in this country.
I see.
So he was the first Muslim mayor of Sri Lanka, giving us Muslims to be very proud part of Sri Lankan politics. And also, more than that, his selfless service towards the community till his last dying breath. So though he retired from active politics, Muhammad went out of politics, but politics never went out of Muhammad.
I see.
So I see that. And also, if I may, Jamal, my uncle, his son, Mr. Hussain Muhammad, was also a mayor of Colombo.
I see.
So we as a family are intimately involved with various parts of Colombo, particularly Maligawatha and Borrell and Colombo Central. So those have indirectly, I believe, influenced me in the background and my subconscious to always aspire to what I am trying to do now.
So you hope that it might be your destiny to be the mayor, the supposed mayor of Colombo.
Yes, the destiny is, we can have dreams, we can have, but the ultimate thing in the democracy is the voter and what's your plans to serve them.
Understood. So when we talk about contesting and the political affiliation that you have decided to align yourself with, you are contesting under the banner of the Samaki Janapala, a party which did not exist when local government elections were held last in Sri Lanka. So as someone who is new to frontline politics, as we discussed before, what about the SJB's vision and leadership appealed to you the most?
Yes. I think that's also a core part in my decision-making process. We live in a pluralistic democratical political system. So you must have a spectrum of parties for the people to choose from, ranging from socialist to liberalist to revolutionary socialist to liberal capitalist and human capitalist. So that spectrum is there. So when I decided, I have been working with them and looked at the political spectrum, the SJB, its leadership, its structure and its novelty, because it's only 5 years old, and we, if elected, are going to be the first local government representatives of the SJB. So I thought, and also I think the SJB's political philosophy is one of humanistic capitalism. I have always believed in capitalism and I will continue to do so. So I thought we are at a juncture in our ideological political journey, from one of socialism to one of capitalism. So I thought, by articulating these facts to the voter at small group levels, at this national level meetings, I want to say that capitalism is about making money. You make money, you develop yourself, and then you share that development and your growth with the others. But I understand that in the past few decades, I would say, the people who enjoyed capitalism kept it to themselves.
It didn't trickle down.
It didn't trickle down. So that's what the voter of Sri Lanka understood, and they have delivered their verdict. And the SJB, since of late, has also learned that lesson. They want to change. Me and my candidates for the Colombo district are that change. So we have selected a group of candidates who are educated, who are dedicated, mixed with wisdom with some of our older politicians, with our female colleagues also equally represented in the fray. I think the SJB had the best policy framework in which I could achieve my aspirations as a budding politician.
Understood. So you have released your policy document and vision a couple of days ago, and the slogan of that manifesto is "For a Happier Colombo." It details multiple aspects that you wish to develop in Colombo, including education, infrastructure, digitization, inclusion, transportation, climate resilience, youth development, you name it, it's in there. So let's dive right into the digitization aspect, because there is a very significant drive for digitization to happen from a central government perspective and also from a grassroots level. So your policy speaks extensively about digitizing city services. So which areas do you believe requires urgent tech-driven attention to eliminate misuse of funds or corruption?
Yes. So digitalization is a platform which we are going to use to deal with age-old problems which Colombo city has been facing. For example, the biggest problems are garbage collection, sewerage and transport. So if I may use this opportunity to link it to my tagline, so when your garbage is not collected, when you are stuck in traffic, when your roads are not made, when your sewerage is overflowing, the feeling, the sensation you get is you are not satisfied, you are angry. So let's make you happy. How do we do that? Is through digitalization. So what we are planning to do specifically is, say for example, you have a block in your sewerage system. You at the moment make a phone call to a hotline which is there, and you get through, you do get through, but it takes a lot. You have to speak to a fellow human being who takes time to respond to it. What if you could digitalize this, and when you call, you are given a specific number, we link a KPI to it, within a couple of hours or couple of days these things will happen. If not, these are the remedial actions will happen. So this is about the real-time transparency, where we can use technology through digitalization to improve this specific service I mentioned. So in addition, about transport within the city, the traffic light system, then the bus system, we are planning on also working with the central government, because as you know, the central government has been elected by the people. We respect their decision and we have to work with them. So we are prepared to do that for the benefit of the city of Colombo, to make it a happier city, so that all of us could realize our aspirations through a transparent, accountable, responsible administration.
Right. So talking about this digital governance model that you have envisioned for the Colombo Municipal Council, if you do become the mayor of Colombo, you will be made to work with multiple stakeholders, ranging from municipal officers to contractors and so on. How will you go about applying this digital government model to ensure that all these stakeholders are held accountable for what they do and their tasks, without one or two of them slipping away, and to ensure that there is transparency all around?
So that's what we talk about, real-time transparency. Right. So example, you apply for a permit to build a house, or even your drainage complaint. So that is going to be visible to the client as well as the service delivery person. So as you know, many of the services within the Colombo municipality are given by our own staff whom we employ, or by a third party person whom again you have to select through a transparent process, not because they have been doing it over and over again, but because they are eligible, suitable, technically capable and able to deliver on the framework we are proposing. So into this framework, Jayamal, like you quite correctly said, we have to build in KPIs, even for our officers, even for the third party person, for the benefit of the client. So if we are not delivering within a particular agreed, we'll have to discuss this with our stakeholders and agree on a reasonable period of service delivery delay. If not, there might have to be penalties, there might have to be clauses, there might have to be even rebates to the customer for the tax they are paying. This is we owe them to do this service. So that's the way digitalization will help, because the data will be available, there will be no dispute among people, or it's very transparent. So that's what we talk about, real transparency in service delivery.
Understood. So you spoke about transparency, which leads me to my next question, Dr. Haniffa. In your portfolio, your policy document, it mentions that you will set up ward level dashboards, live project trackers and complaint portals. But how will citizens have access to this and trust this data?
Yes.
Will you carry out an independent oversight into this digital system to ensure that there will be no data breaches or there will be no misuse of this data? Because we have seen over the past few years how several government institutions, including the government cloud, has been hacked, and data, significantly important data.
Yes.
You know, I'm referring to the NMRA case, which we extensively covered here at Newsfirst. It wiped out millions of records which were vital to Sri Lanka's healthcare system. So how will you ensure and how will you build up that trust within the people that this digital governance model you create is going to be robust and will not be penetrated by outside parties?
Yes. With the question of data breach is very, very serious, because these are information the clients or whoever gives you in a trusted manner. So it is our utmost duty to protect that data in their interest, because they are ensuring to us. Having said that, I think data breaches are avoidable provided that they are multi-layered and so on. So we are discussing with I think we have a wealth of talent here in Sri Lanka. If you take our digital experts, they are the best working all over the world. So we want to attract them to advise us, and we will ensure that this will be done in a secure manner where there will be ethics involved in not divulging, and multiple layers of security. But you might ask, that's going to cost a lot. Yes, it might cost a lot, but if we get the system working, if we can get the buy-in of the officials who are going to monitor that system, who are going to trust that system in a non-threatening way, because I think when you introduce technology, it's disruptive.
Yes.
So the workers and our colleagues and officials might be a bit apprehensive, but I think we are moving on. The mean age of the municipality, I think the worker, as you go along, we need to decrease it a bit and then employ and give opportunity to more younger people who understand this tech savvy and deliver this. So yes, it is a huge problem. Data breaches do happen, but we will work with the central government and all the security people necessary to do this, to ensure it. And of course, we will have regular reviews involved to see that these things are running well. That's where the efficient management comes into play, which my team, I believe, can give the political guidance and checks and balances to do it.
Understood. So in your explanation, you spoke about the wealth of talent Sri Lanka has and reducing the mean age of some of your employees at the municipal council level and several other institutions, which brings me to another important question and a central theme that I noted in your manifesto was the focus on education. You have mentioned that mobile preschools will be established, learning corners will also be developed. How will these solutions practically translate into reducing inequality between the education levels of students, youngsters, the youth within the Colombo Municipal Council?
Yes, this has been specifically done to address the congestion issues. You should visit our the Batu, as we call them, the gardens in Colombo, which are highly congested. These are flats and housing projects built by the CMC, sometime by the National Housing Development Authority or whatever, but ultimately they are our voters within the city. So when you go walk into a house like that, which I did actually on Saturday and Sunday in my electorate.
How was that experience?
It was, I have been there before. So I see some development, but still the infrastructure needs to be better. So if we can, for example, in a one-room house, there are children, there are preschool, but preschool is a very, very important place where we have to give this early educational development. So we need to have community centers. And Jamal, we do have community centers, but those community centers needs to be upgraded. It's at the moment, if I may say, it's just a physical space. You know, you can use it for various community activities, but what if we have a study area for, say, O-level, A-level students? It's just a walking distance from their home. So instead of studying in a cramped up small room with a television, radio and on, you move into that community center. We will provide you the electricity. We will provide you the desk and, you know, to come and sit there, quiet reading room. So perhaps if there are 100 people, there are 10 people, 15 people, but that 10, 15 is worthwhile investing in that. And about preschool, the Colombo municipality has a network of preschools. We have teachers who are coming there, and they serve the parents who can leave the children there to earn a living. So we need to get that up. The nutrition levels can be monitored, the educational creativity can be created, and so on. So we plan to do this through the existing community centers which are there, which, may I add, are now just used as wedding halls and reception halls. So we want to enhance that. We will not interfere with those spaces are needed, but we want to add a bit of high quality into that quantity which we have now.
Understood. Dr. Ruvaiz Haniffa, mayoral hopeful for the Colombo Municipal Council, is my guest on Face to Face. We must cross over for a short commercial break. Do stay tuned. We will be right back.
Newsfirst, face to face with Jamal Ratnayaka.
ඔබේ ගමේ නගරේ දේශපාලනයේ හෙට දවස සතිය දිනවල සවස 6:30ට
ඔන්න මෙදා සැරෙත් අවුරුද්දට අපි එනවා
කන්තලේ මධ්‍ය මහාවිද්‍යාලීය ක්‍රීඩාංගණයට
අප්‍රේල් 19 දවස පුරා
අවුරුදු සිරියෙන් පුරවන්න ඔයාලත් එන්න.
අවුරුදු කුමරා කුමරිය බයිසිකල් ධාවන තරගය
ඔරුපැදීමේ තරගය සහ ජන ක්‍රීඩා රසක් සමග
කුරුණෑගල බැජී සංගීතයට ජනප්‍රිය ගායක ගායිකාවන් ගී ගයන
නැගෙනහිරට අවුරුදු
අප්‍රේල් 19 වනදා දවස පුරා
කන්තලේ මැදි වෙදුහල ක්‍රීඩාංගණයේදී.
Solomon's strict rule. The little rubber that draws. I said stop it!
Take
Prefect. Saturday and Sunday at 6:30 p.m. on TV1.
ඔබේ ගමේ නගරේ දේශපාලනයේ හෙට දවස සතිය දිනවල සවස 6:30ට
Newsfirst, face to face with Jamal Ratnayaka.
Welcome back to Face to Face. My guest this evening is a mayoral candidate for the Colombo Municipal Council representing the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, Dr. Ruvaiz Haniffa. Before the break, we discussed much about Dr. Ruvaiz Haniffa's personal ambition and why he moved into politics to serve the people of Colombo, as he himself is a product of Colombo. We spoke about upgrading the digital systems within the Colombo Municipal Council. We talked about education. We spoke about youth. We spoke about transparency, and now we move into an issue that has long been brought up but hasn't been addressed, and has only been addressed sporadically when certain unfavorable or unsavory incidents do come about, and that I am referring to is women's safety and the inclusion of other community members. So Dr. Haniffa, as a medical practitioner, I'm sure over the course of your professional career you have come about certain, displeasing stories about how women have been ill-treated and how they continue to be somewhat criticized and marginalized in society. So how do you envision the policies and the actions detailed in your manifesto to translate into a safer experience, to put it very simply, for a woman to be able to walk without any doubts in her mind at night on a very, very well lit street without having second thoughts?
Yes, this is a problem, and I think lately you can read any newspaper or watch any TV channel or social media. This is a huge problem, and the safety of women in particular is an issue. This has been going on, like you rightly said, for a long time. So we have identified and addressed it in our policies. So we have to create an environment in which the female child, the girl child, and the woman, mother, grandmother, in that entire life spectrum of a female feels safe. So even if the girl child is not safe, the woman is not safe. So if you create a situation where the girl child is not safe and she is vulnerable to elements which are in society, if we can create the environment, I am saying the physical environment in which she lives, will make her better. So this is about the housing, this is about the access to services, access to walking about, education, transport and so on. So to do this, you have to ensure that that environment is created. So one thing is in the nights, so that will be the best example. Most of this will happens during nights. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to, especially in these low income settings, have a proper maintained and supervised lighting system.
Right.
And we will also be having the women themselves helping us monitor these systems. We have in our policy talked about a ward system where the senior matriarch, if I may use that word, in the area will be involved, because she will have the experience and the wisdom to tell that community, you know, if we are setting up lights, we can ask them where. So some areas, the public toilets are a huge issue. So walking towards, so the basic thing is to eliminate this and create a safe environment through the to a proper lighting system. So that the municipality can do.
Right.
In addition to that, the access pathways, the grounds where these children play, which we also have addressed in our policy statements, and more than that, to create awareness among the people who try to do these things. We need to respect our women. Jamal, let me tell you, the malaria was almost eradicated in Sri Lanka in the 1950s, 60s, solely because the literacy in women was increased. So if we can do that to our male colleagues, to respect their mothers and so on, and create the environment, like I said, example lighting, I think we could start addressing this problem so that it does not go on to the next generation.
Understood. So moving on from that, we know Sri Lanka has largely boasted about how attractive a destination it is for tourists, and tourism remains a massive forex income earner for Sri Lanka despite the drawbacks we had a couple of years ago. Tourism seems to be falling back on track in recent times, and Colombo is one of the hotspots that many tourists would include in their itinerary if they were to visit Sri Lanka. But there are certain considerations that need to be given to uplifting a tourist's experience in Colombo, and we have seen, mainly because of the advent of social media, how certain tourists undergo very unsavory situations, especially with certain tuk drivers in public transport, them being catcalled by certain Sri Lankan boys and youth. How do you plan on addressing this to make Colombo a safer space for tourists as a whole, and how do you plan to improve Colombo's product offering for a potential tourist?
So firstly, I think Colombo must be competitive. It's very difficult to compete with ancient ruins, beautiful destinations, 7 arch bridges, lovely beaches and so on. But like you said, an inevitable stop in any tourist's visit to Sri Lanka would be Colombo. So we too must be touristy, if I might add that word. We have a wealth of historical artifacts and history within Colombo. We are a multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multicultural city in terms of our food, in terms of our outdoor activities, and so many resources we have within Colombo. We need to promote them properly. So you asked about making it safe. Yes, to make that safe, first we must make it attractive and get the buy-in of the local people. Let me give you an example. Alut Kade. We are, I think, gone viral on social media about the street food. So when you talked about the safety, I also want to talk about the food safety, hygiene and so on. So the food is lovely there, but we have heard of
the hygiene is questionable.
Hygiene and also the shopkeepers sort of abusing the tourists,
charging exorbitant
amounts. These are the issues which build trust with the tourists. So what you need there, we do not want to interfere with the entrepreneurship. That's great. We need to promote that. But what we need to do, like in other countries where they have these food streets and so on, let's make it a organized, regulated food street.
A standardized process.
That doesn't mean that we take government into making food, or let me say local government into making food. But we as a CMC will create the atmosphere, will pave their roads, will clear their ruts, will clear their...
provide them with an allocated space for their
space. We will ensure that, for which they would pay us a tax, which we are anyway getting. And also about the safety, we will have to have multiple engagements with our local tourist police. We'll have to have a structure even within the CMC where you could complain and act on complaints quickly and give solutions in real time. So that's where our digital apps, like I think Indian countries have inserted, when you come in, you download the app and then, so perhaps those are the areas which we are looking about. But we, in our plan, we have said, yes, we want a loud city, but we want a safe city. So play loud, stay safe. That will be our slogan, and we want to promote Colombo as a tourist destination per se. So we'll be competing with our colleagues in Anuradhapura, in Galle. So we will play on an equal field.
Understood. So very quickly, Dr. Haniffa, because this has been a topic of contention over the past few years, this is about climate resilience and how Colombo as a whole can be a resilient city, especially when it comes to natural disasters and so on. And when I was reading your manifesto, I came about how you had spoken about the flood resilience, how you can create a better drainage system and so on. But my question to you is, how do you plan to balance the pressure of urban beautification with the demands of urbanization in Colombo? We know there are multiple large infrastructure projects that are being carried out in Sri Lanka and in particular in Colombo, and that places a greater stress on Colombo's environment, biodiversity and so on. So where do you strike the perfect balance in ensuring that both these developments are developed in a way where it is sustainable?
Absolutely. So what we have been doing up to now is revolving. What we need to do is to evolve. But to strike the balance, what I would like to say is, we must evolve while revolving. Because there are certain things we need to have. So that's what we have to revolve around, but move on. You spoke about the infrastructure. I must congratulate the past CMC administrations. Now the flooding situation in Colombo is not as bad as before, because they have identified the flooding areas, they have put in the correct drainage system, water drainage system, which drains the water. So yes, it does flood, but it doesn't flood for days. You have quick floods and it goes out.
Dissipates.
So let me congratulate the engineers and the officers for doing that. But let us also evolve. Let us move on. We know the problems. We are putting up high-rise buildings. For example, we know our sewerage system cannot take it. Yes, we have upgraded our sewage pumping station. It was beautiful. Yesterday, I visited Vanathamulla. It was opened only a couple of months ago.
I see.
It's actually architecturally very beautiful. And also, let me also tell you, these high-rise buildings, there are fire safety issues, which at the moment we are not addressing. So these are the matters which, when I say revolving and evolving, these are the areas we have to evolve in. So for this, we need expert opinion, we need expert consultation. You talked about climate resilience. Yes, I as a practicing doctor as of now, during the past few months, saw a lot of climate related respiratory issues. Yes, and we used to display the index,
AQI,
right?
Yes, air quality index.
Air quality index. So we need to get teams to monitor. We have the resources, we have the manpower. So let's get that data translated so that the citizen will use it himself and take precautions and not get into health problems. And also with regard to the big apartments coming up, high rises, we need to go there. We need to maximize our spaces. So in the same line, may I say that there are constructions which are over 100 years old. if I may, so which may, it has passed its lifetime, but we are betting on.
Yes.
But what if we can maintain them better, build new and build better?
Understood. That will contribute to the beautification
Absolutely.
of the city per se. Right. So we have come to the end of today's program, but because we have a couple of more minutes, I will give you the opportunity to speak to the audience and give them your ultimate vision in about 2 to 3 minutes for the city of Colombo, and hopefully you will extract a couple of votes from them. Now's your chance.
Thanks, Jamal. So my message to you is, I want the resident of Colombo to be I want the voter of Colombo to be a proud resident of Colombo. So to do that, we have the plan, we have the team, we have the dedication, the wisdom, the knowledge and the breadth in a team to do this. So please look at our manifesto, look at our team, read the manifesto, and please may I also urge you to read the manifestos of the others who are competing, compare their teams, compare their ability to do what we are asking you to do. At the end of the day, what we have to make you is happier, and our slogan is for a happier Colombo.
Well, a very honest prognosis, I must say. My guest this evening on Face to Face was mayoral candidate for the Colombo Municipal Council representing the Samagi Janapala Vegaya, Dr. Ruvaiz Haniffa. Thank you very much, Doctor, for joining me. We wish you all the best in your political campaign trail. They say vision without action is merely a dream, but Dr. Haniffa's policy promises us transparency, inclusivity, and also a transformational approach. So let us compare, let us make the right decision at the polling booth, and let's hope for a happier Colombo for all of us. Thank you very much. Stay safe and good night.
Newsfirst, face to face with Jamal Ratnayaka.
Pense plus à lui, tu te fais du mal, s'il te plaît, n'y pense plus. Il a souillé ton âme, toi tu t'es battu. Ton cœur est plus précieux que de l'or. Ne pense plus à lui.
अब भी चाहूं, इश्क निभाऊं.